Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio, and today's Thursday, April 16th, 2026. Hey, Anita, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, Melissa.
Good morning, Jeannie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thanks. I've been on the road, conferences and training and things, and so my computer's not cooperating. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I jumped on today.
I'm glad you did.
And I'm at my friend's house in Kamloops with Carol. So Carol's joining me because I wanted to show her how to get on to the radio show. So here we go.
So welcome,
glad
Carol.
you're here.
Thank you.
Melissa, how are you doing?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me? I'm driving.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm doing wonderful. Hope you guys are doing well.
We are. We're getting the gardens going, and we just now got back from picking up some more plants to put in, so it's rocking.
Well, that's good. Hope you guys aren't getting the weather we've been. We've been getting slammed big time.
It's been beautiful weather. We've had a little bit of rain, not a lot. It's 76 degrees right now, and mostly sunny. They're actually not
We've been getting
calling
a lot of sunny.
They're not calling for us to have rain. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We've been getting sunny, but in between we've been getting major storms. Then it gets sunny again, and it goes back to the storms.
Oh no! Well, you stay safe driving.
Oh yeah, I've got on speaker, so.
Okay. Well, welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome everybody. Delighted and honored that you're here and that we get to be here again. Deep appreciation for just the fact that we get to have a human life. So how is everybody doing? Anything important, exciting, wondrous, questions, answers, ideas that anybody has to share? Push that mute button. Say hello. What's exciting?
Have either of you had a chance to start reading the book?
Oh, that's a good idea. We could ask for some book reports. That's a great idea, Jeannie.
Yeah, Jeannie, because I've been on the road, I haven't actually had a chance to look at the workbook yet, but after Sunday, then things settle down. So I'll next week, it's my plan to dive into the workbook.
Have you been able to read any of the book itself?
No, just the beginning. I'm moving too, so it's there's just a lot going on.
Oh wow, that is a lot.
Yeah. No, but I'm excited. I look forward to diving in.
I found a couple of errors where the lines fell over in the wrong place on the PDF, but I've corrected them as I've gone through.
Oh, nice. Thank you for that. How are sales going?
They've done really well, and I've asked everybody that have gotten books directly from me to go out to any of the websites. I mean, like Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Goodreads, Amazon. All of them carry the book now, and so go out and give a review.
Oh, fantastic!
Amazon is still saying that they're not releasing it until next Friday. I think they're holding off, waiting to see what response the ebook gets, and maybe I'll do a big push and ask everybody if they've not bought one to buy one on the 24th when it releases on Amazon.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I bought one first round, and it was interesting because the price was the same, which surprised me because I thought it would have been more in Canadian dollars. Anyhow, that was a nice surprise.
No, nice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I uploaded it to my e-reader, and that's as far as I got.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on an audiobook, but haven't gotten to the point of publicizing it yet.
It will be so amazing to have you reading your voice, narrating your book, Jeannie.
Thank you. And Michael's voice is on the forward and the afterward, and then mine's in the rest of the book. So,
Aw, I love that.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I was trying to set up with Books A Million to do a book signing, and then also we have a local independent bookstore, and they've had trouble on their website. They're booked out until October, so I'm trying to get into their schedule to do a book signing in their store as well.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So does anyone have anything exciting to report? Otherwise, we'll pick up where our conversation was yesterday and move forward. All right. Well, yesterday we were talking about the idea that we literally, as the ancient teaching said, live, move, and have our being. We live in an energy field, and the energy field has a particular character and nature, and its character and nature is that of love. And so when we realize that functioning out of that field leads us to a particular quality of thinking. Now, the world's always trying to drag us into its way of thinking. You know, the person who chooses to be the optimist oftentimes, well, you're just not, you know, you're not really dealing with the real world. It's like, well, actually, if you deal with the actual world, you get to become a conscious creator of what happens in your life. And, you know, the whole idea of being a creator, you know, modern science is really starting to articulate exactly the same thing. It's in a scientific language, but exactly the same thing as the ancient teachings gave us. You know, they're telling us that you know, our mind, our perceptions are literally translations of and translated into chemical signals in the structure by the brain. And then those signals are released into the structure, into the body as neuropeptides. And, you know, one author, a friend of mine actually, unfortunately, she's left the planet. She's a woman who discovered the opiate receptors in the brain. She was a director of the National Institute of Brain Bioresearch, National Mental Institute of Health. And she came up with the idea of opiate receptors. And she wrote a book. If you haven't read it, you want an interesting read about how it all translates. And it's called Molecules of Emotion, Candace Pert. And what she's shown is that these molecules travel through the bloodstream, bind to receptor sites on cell, and literally initiate changes in cellular activity. A thought becomes a neuropeptide, changes cellular activity directly. It's an exact replica of what was said 2,000 years ago in the Aramaic opening words in the book of John, which do not say, as we've been told, in the beginning was the word or the logos, and the logos became flesh, but it says mind energy. Thoughts become molecules of emotion. And we have absolute charge over what we do with our thoughts, if we choose to understand that and take responsibility. Now, you'll notice that membership in the One World Universal Religion of Blame is pretty popular, and a lot of people want you to join them in that church, which is just about universal, and it's actually a very difficult membership card to reject or to give back, because once the mind has bought into this idea of somebody else, anybody else, everybody else is responsible for what's happening inside of me, literally that creates a form of, and I'm talking now on a literal cellular level, of addictive chemistry. Dr. Bruce Lipton, cell biologist, back, 25 years ago. I was in New York City and did a TV interview. And after the interview, the interviewer said to me, you're doing the same work as Bruce Lipton. I go, who's Bruce Lipton? Oh, he's a cell biologist. He teaches at, I don't know, one of the big medical schools. And I'm like, a cell biologist doing the same work I am? I got to see this. And he gave me a copy of his interview with this guy. And I was just, like, whoa. And I called him back and asked for a contact number for Dr. Lipton. He gave it to me, and I called him. And I introduced myself. And his response was, oh, you wrote the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And talk about synchronicity. And I was kind of taken aback, like, well, yeah, I did. How do you know that? He said, well, I was just at, I believe it was the Europa Institute in Boulder, Colorado this past weekend, he said, and someone gave me your book, and I'm sitting reading it as we speak. But what Lipton's showing is think a thought, and it produces this neuropeptide. The neuropeptide lands in a cell and becomes our chemistry. And so his kind of summary is the moment we shift perception, what's the key tool for shifting perception? It's got nothing to do with letting other people off the hook. The key to shifting perception is forgiveness. Forgiveness is about shifting perception. It's not about letting somebody off the hook by those who are members of the one world universal religion of blame. It's about shifting the energetic dynamics that are going on in the mind and the physiology. So his literally, he says the moment perception changes is the moment the chemistry of the body begins to change. So he, as a cell biologist says, we're not victims of our genetics. We function as regulators of our own biology. Thought shifts perception and internal environment. The individual participates directly in the expression of cellular activity and gene behavior. Once again, here he is, cell biologist. Mind energy is lived physiology. So recognizing that when the mind shows us a construct that's based in some form of hostility, fear, sadness, grief, rage, hatred, vengeance, blame, that's the time to pull out the forgiveness tool. And what the forgiveness tool does, when it's understood properly, a la first century Aramaic Yeshua, is the forgiveness tool collapses current perception, the output of the mind. And when the output of the mind is collapsed, you get to reach into what's underneath it. Now we come over and we're now listening to Carl Jung, probably the most well-known psychiatrist that's ever existed. And what he says is, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate, i.e., that it's something happening outside of us. Unfortunately, Carl Jung, it seems, did not have the tool of forgiveness, so did not know that forgiveness collapsed perception and gave us access to our unconscious dynamics. But that's exactly what happens when a pained construct of the mind, which is paining the body because the energy doesn't belong there. The body's warning signal, ouch, is saying, you need to get rid of this. When that perception collapses, it collapses in on its own footprint, and that's what gives us access to the unconscious. And Candace Pert, with her work and in receptor sites, said that the receptor site patterns are based in and create repeating emotional states. So the structure literally becomes conditioned to the chemistry of long-held resentments, fears, griefs, hostility, generational patterns that are not only psychological, but they're physiological habits. And our physiology organizes around the very states that disturb it. And this is the bottom line, is that this is why unresolved internal content must be addressed at its root. If the pattern remains, it continues to generate the same chemistry, the same physiology, the same perceptions, the same emotions. If you lived, why is this happening to me again? Then the single tool that you need to begin to apply, and you need to be willing. You know, when you think about when folks live in hostility and fear, and oh, I want my life, I want things to be different. I want them to be different. I don't want to live in this state anymore. Okay, so do you have any idea how you got into that state? No? Well, we can tell you how you got into that state. Do you have any idea how to get out of that state? And are you willing to do what it takes to change your state? Because if you're not, then you're going to just keep living out the title of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And it doesn't matter how often you treat the symptoms of a dis-ease energy. Let's break that word disease down into two words. Dis-ease, a lack of ease. That's where the chemical interruption happens on a cellular level that ends up becoming what we call physical disease. And the cycle repeats because the cause remains active at an unconscious level, at a hidden level. Whatever remains hidden, just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's inactive. Go back to the Aramaic, and they gave us a really precise statement. I said, nothing will remain hidden. Everything will be made known in the light of day. As, yeah, we can hide it from ourselves and pretend it's not there, but because that's cause behind physiology, it's going to come into physiological, mental, emotional, relational expression. So whatever moves beneath awareness becomes unconscious creation. Whatever moves in awareness becomes conscious creation. And that's probably the greatest atrocity that's ever been done to us as human beings down through the ages, and that we've bought into. We've had hidden from us the fact that we are by nature creators, which is an idea everybody absolutely loves when the creation's going well. Am I willing to take that level of responsibility when the creation's not going so well? That's the real key. So whatever is unseen does not disappear. It organizes, it shapes, it directs, it generates everything that we get to live in and everything that we get to experience. So the important technology, my take is, the single biggest reason why there's so much trauma, why there's so much separation, why there's so much hate, fear, war, divorce, violence between generations, is because nobody wants to look at and deal with what's beneath the surface. And so those things that shape, direct, and generate remain hidden. And that becomes the driver of experience. And it becomes the driver of experience because that's not how we're designed to operate. But if we default to unconscious dynamics, that's the part that takes over the operation. Now, again, the ancient teachings take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. Keep with due diligence your unconscious dynamics. Pay attention to it. Understand how to get into it and clean it up if there's something that doesn't belong there. So the unconscious is the storehouse of patterns, experiences, and energies that operate and work below the conscious level. From this inner terrain arise the conditions of life: physical health or illness, relational harmony or conflict, mental clarity or confusion, emotional stability or turmoil, financial flow or struggle, success or failure, all operate from that level. And everything that expresses outwardly was first formed inwardly. If you don't like what's expressing outwardly, then the requirement for it to change is to step inward and create a reformation. When the unconscious is left unattended, filled with unresolved generational patterns of fear, or unresolved generational or personal patterns of hostility, fear, distortion, that becomes the generator of the very conditions that one's trying to escape. The body reflects it, relationships mirror it, and life circumstances organize around it. When the unconscious is brought into awareness and its content is forgiven, removed, resolved, no longer active, then the entire system begins to change. So what was once driving distortions, internal and external, post-forgiveness is no longer present. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Anyone have a thought to add? Is that fitting? Anyone have a comment before I move forward anymore?
I do, Michael.
Go for it, young lady. I was just going to take your name in vain and invite you to go ahead anyway. I knew you were there.
You know that I'm a talker on your show. I've had a question.
And I appreciate it.
Well, good, because you're stuck with it. I've had this experience of finding myself freed from certain things I've wanted. Like I've wanted for years, since my son was a teenager, I've wanted him to be well and happy. Whereas when he turned 13, he began suffering from anxiety and depression. You've heard a lot about that.
Right.
Because he lived so near us, I was a daily witness to his mental state. And I was codependent with him up the kazoo. When I learned about your tools, I put them to use, and I did really well with them. But I noticed going through these memoirs that even before he moved away in 2024 or 2025, I was still hanging my hat on his well-being to some extent. I was much better, but I was still, my well-being and happiness hinged on how he was doing.
Or intertwined. Yeah, I hear you.
And when he moved away, you asked me, how are you doing with it? And I said it was a bright sadness. That's Richard Rohr's gorgeous little phrase. And you said, that's the result of the work. And yes, it was, but I didn't know how things would pan out. I didn't know whether I would simply miss him and be hanging on his every word from all the way to Virginia, where he now lives. Well, I found that just the physical distance, wasn't that I did any work. The physical distance gave me some relief from the daily or moment by moment concern with how he was.
Yes.
And there were a lot of grandmotherly chores that you and Jeannie do every day that are, they're challenging. These little guys take a lot of energy. And Jonathan had 2 boys, a dog, 2 cats, and I was often in charge of being up there because they both were at work, husband and wife, or they went away and I'd be the house sitter and the care sitter. And I was glad to do these things, never questioned
Right.
it.
Sure.
They formed the kind of structure of my life. And in between those things, I could do my own work. But when they were gone, I thought, oh my God, I don't have to go up there this morning and do this, that, and the other. I don't have to go up there in the evening. And I thought, what was that?
So what changed? Have you
well,
identified what changed?
no, I was not aware of minding on any level doing that. But
No
I
minding
was,
required. Remember go back to the codependence story in the context of this whole piece that you're presenting. It's really an important piece. In the context of the codependence, remember that there are only three behaviors. Once we've got a codependent dynamic installed in the mind, there are only three behaviors possible. And they all relate back to the power person. And number one, when there's little or no stress, we'll do what we did to get along with our power person. When stress starts to build, we'll do what we did to resist and survive. And when we become ultra stressed, we'll do what our power person did to hate it the most.
yeah,
What causes stress? Goals.
not goals, right?
They left 1,000 goals. Yes, left your life. You don't have the dog. You don't have the cat. You don't have the kids. You don't have the house. You don't have to watch him suffer. I mean, literally, overnight, 1,000 goals disappeared. Now, culture has a saying for that, and it's an incorrect saying. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. No, it doesn't. Absence means I don't have goals to keep my stress level up, so I'm able to back off from my power person dynamics if they're still unresolved in me.
Okay, I'm not connecting the power person dynamic with the situation with my son. What's missing?
Okay, so remember that the way you set a goal, or pardon me, the way you create stress is to set a goal.
Yeah.
So while your son is living up the hill, you've got the goal to feed the dog, walk the dog, take care of the fish, to do this with the child, do this with the house, do that, do that, do that. Be there to give him solace and support, try to assist in his, healing his depression, blah, blah, blah. So they're all goals.
Yeah.
The day that they moved, all of those goals were gone from you.
Yeah.
That meant all of the stresses created by those goals was gone.
Yeah.
So no longer are you in an ultra stressed or on the verge of ultra stressed simply because those goals are gone. Now you're back at, remember which power person dynamic is operating. Little or no stress, I do what I did to get along with my power person. So it's easy because my stress level's down and I'm drawing from a whole different database in carbon-based memory. And, and you've done a whole lot of work to dump a lot of what was in carbon-based memory for you of those dynamics as well. But just that simple fact. Now, recognize that if they move back to that house tomorrow and things resumed, all those goals would come back into place. Your stress level would probably go from where it is. If we took stress on a scale of 1 to 10, my offering is that probably when they were around with all the things you were handling with them, your stress level stayed pretty much at an 8 or a 9 most of the time. Which meant you're right on the verge of, if there's any power person dynamic left in you, you're right on the verge of experiencing it. That's what's going to call that into play through the automatic decision system. Now you live at a level of stress too. You don't have anything to even take you close to the power person dynamic. So it's just a simple, so absence makes the heart go fonder. They say, no, absence means I don't have the goals involved, so my stress is reduced. And then they say familiarity breeds contempt. No, familiarity doesn't breed contempt. Familiarity brings up a whole other load and reserve of goals that keep my stress level up. And when my stress level's up, I'll tend to go closer and closer to any unresolved power person dynamic. That's one of the reasons for using the worksheet on a daily basis to keep the stress level low. And go back to Yeshua 2,000 years ago, and he understood this, and he said it so powerfully, although the Greeks misinterpreted it. He says, sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. Now, in the Greek translation, that one doesn't make much sense, but in Aramaic, the word evil one of the interpretations of the word evil, or definitions, is unripened or incomplete. So, so sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. In other words, if I get up in the morning and there are 8,000 possible things in my life that I could be doing today that need to be done, which there are, if I load a goal for all 8,000 things, I'm going to be so overburdened and so stressed that I'll probably be laying in bed depressed.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I understand sufficient for the day are the evils thereof, of the 8,000 things that I have on my plate as need to be done, I recognize there are three of them, three projects that I can get done today. And so I'm going to set a goal for project 1, project 2, project 3. And the other 7,997 I set aside on my planner for when it comes time for me to do those. Now my stress is at a reasonable, manageable level, and I have all of my resources available. I'm not stressed out. But just imagine them moving back tomorrow. Where would your stress level be?
That's true. I don't really want to resume. Plus, my vitality has gone in a different direction. My focus has gone in a different direction.
Right.
Aside from all that. But I guess what I'm asking is the sense of freedom and centeredness and joy. And it took a while. It took about a year, or I think you've been gone a year. I don't know whether I've sort of stumbled artificially into a state of better health because the circumstances changed, and I wasn't able or even aware that I needed to do that when they were here. I don't know how to put this, but
better health will be a natural result of a reduction in stress.
Yeah, I can feel that that's true. Although I get pooped. Yeah, I have great energy in the morning, and then somewhere around now, I listen to the show lying down. And I don't like to admit it, but sometimes I go to sleep for a few minutes in the middle of it. I'm not asleep right now, but it happens in those 2 hours, Dr. Tim's and then yours. There may be a time when I zone out for a few minutes. It's never very long.
And that's probably when you're stepping into process.
Who knows? Oh my God, it's just so interesting. I feel as if this circumstance coincides with having had, as Anthony DeMello says, having had enough suffering. So I just was sick of it and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I decided I wasn't going to suffer anymore.
Tired and sick of being sick and tired.
Right. So I stepped away from it. Anthony DeMello makes a distinction between psychotherapy, where the therapist tries to ease someone's pain, and the spiritual director who might say, yeah, feel that suffering, go into that suffering, and get so sick of it that you find your way out of it without having anybody ease it for you. Right. Somehow I feel as if that has been happening. And even, a year ago, I'm writing in my journal, despite the work I've done, despite the worksheets I do, despite being off meds and being well, I'm depressed today. I'm anxious today. What? And there was a lot of that. And it has been going away. And it's been about a month. I didn't even dare mention it because I thought, well, maybe it's just a manic high or something I'm in. I feel in a new territory, excited about life, glad to be born, loving getting up, finding many things to appreciate in life, feeling more able to draw lines like, no, I'm not going to go to that meeting. I don't want to go to that meeting, or I'm not going to any more parties. I hate parties. Stuff like that.
You're not allowing others to frame your goals for you now.
Yeah.
You've taken charge of your own goal setting mechanism.
It feels
And
great.
what I hear you describing is the fruit of your work. I mean, my take, and go back and hold the newborn child, and if their belly's full and the diaper's empty, their state is absolute joy.
Yeah.
That's our
Well,
natural state.
my
We
diaper's
grow
empty and
into
my
a culture
belly
that
is
loads us.
full.
There you go, and the culture loads us up and loads us up with what it expects of us and sets goals for us, frames goals for us, and then does everything it can do to manipulate us into setting those goals, and we end up becoming so overwhelmed and overloaded with stress that life gets crazy, and
Yeah.
it's all an inside job.
Well, it is, but I feel as if I cheated only because they went away. They did that favor.
Yes.
They helped me
Yes.
step toward healing. Whereas if they were here, I probably wouldn't have done it, Michael.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Yeah, creating a space to do your healing is a really important thing. That's what I was saying a little while ago, for people to really notice the state they're in, and get a handle on what is it taken to create that state. Somebody's in this continuous state of upset, depression, anxiety, pills. What did it take to create that state? And then, are you really willing to do what it takes to change that state? Because that state doesn't change if you keep doing everything you've always done. And you've been doing what it takes to change your state. So you end up in a whole new state. That's the objective of the work.
With a lot of help from circumstances and my friends, you and Dr. Tim, among them, cohorts on the radio show.
Yeah, life is here to support you.
Well, it seems that way. It's been great.
Yeah, it is. It's
Anthony
awesome.
DeMello says, when you're considering giving up your addiction, and of course, what are our addictions? Whatever it is we think we have to have, I suppose, looks like an addiction. Thinking of giving those up is like thinking about dying or suffering. It's going to be horrible. And for a while, when you think you've relinquished all that, you may feel horrible. And then all of a sudden, you don't. You're okay. Not only okay, you're better than ever. But it takes going through that fire of whatever it is to get there.
Well, it's called a healing crisis. Yeah. Whatever the disease energy is behind the addiction that drives the addictive process is going to have to be processed out. When the addictive substance, or our definition of addiction is the compulsive use of any person, place, thing, circumstance, substance, or activity. Whenever I let go of that, then I'm going to go into a healing crisis. I'm going to face what I've been hiding from myself.
Oh, yeah,
that's part of the healing process. And that's just the required step. A lot of people don't want to go there. No, I'm going to hold my breath. I don't want to feel this.
They don't want to go there.
But the truth is, if you understand, the most important thing you could do and want to do is to go there, because that's how you get to dump it. Otherwise, you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a change of mind. Most of the world's like, oh, here, you don't have to think about that thing that happened 10 years ago that you haven't resolved yet with that. No, here, just have a shot of scotch. Here, sit down, have a drink with me. Let's have a few beers.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go out for ice cream.
Oh, and I still use stuff, Michael. I mean, I go on my iPhone. If I feel a little discomfort, I might reach for my phone to be entertained for a minute. I've been watching my addiction to my iPhone. I mean,
Good catch.
Well,
good catch.
I have to tell you, I had the most wonderful talk with Luke this morning. And
cool.
He is using AA the way I use tools. And I have offered him, I sent him one of the wake-up sheets, the 7-step, and I sent him the commitment. And I explained in my email, because he's been too busy, I explained that he could just read it to himself. He doesn't have to show it to his girlfriend, mother of his baby, and so forth. Just say it to himself. And he hasn't even done that. But he said, you know, those worksheets, and he put it in the plural. I only remember doing one major wake up sheet with him. Evidently,
Right.
he did more on his own. And he started reading the Course in Miracles on his own. And he said, those made me able to understand what AA was doing and translate back and forth between those disciplines. And now
Right.
I'm a teacher of the steps, and the steps have everything in them that you need to be well. And so he said, Tim Hayes and Michael Ryce got me going. They were like my booster rockets.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell him we are honored to be on his team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Rice, can I
Right.
ask a question? Susan, are you complete?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, not that I'm not going to change the subject. I'm just wondering if you can share a mind shifter with us because Susan, thank you. You bring up such a great point for me before I was leaving town for 2 weeks for conferences and workshops, etc., and
Mhm.
moving and hosting Easter dinner at my new place. It was very overwhelming, all the things that were happening that had to be done before I left. And my daughter had said, "Oh, hey, can you look after the dogs? We're going to go out of town this weekend." And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
like this weekend? And I'm leading a conference tomorrow and there's tons of work to do for this conference. And I got really frustrated and I said, look, like this is, the worst weekend of all weekends. And where I'm moved into, there's no dogs allowed, which meant then I had to go and house it at their house with their dogs, even though I'm in this new place. And anyhow, I got
So you're
super
Terry,
frustrated.
aren't you? Because I'm noticing you're not unmuted. So you're Terry, though. I recognize your voice.
No, it's Anita.
Anita, I beg your pardon. Okay, I see that. I thought you were Terry. I'm so glad to know who you are. Hello, Anita.
Hi, Susan. Yeah, no, and so I'm just curious because, yeah, I recognize that I put all this pressure on myself with all these things that were happening simultaneously and the goals that the kids have, because of course I always drop everything when they need help with something, and this just happened to be a challenging time to add one more thing. What would a mind shifter be? Because I clearly need to do some work on this.
Got
Go
one
for
for
it,
you.
Michael.
Say it again.
I've got one for you when you're ready. You got your pen handy?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I've been writing.
Is it a son or daughter?
Daughter and son-in-law.
Daughter and son-in-law. My daughter and son-in-law
Yep.
really appreciate me
Okay.
when I'm able to say no and take care of myself.
Nice.
All right,
And our
Michael, you hit it.
and our relationship deepens as a result of it.
Thank you.
Now notice what that's doing with your breath.
Yeah. And our relationship deepens when I take care of myself.
Yes.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
I'll breathe with you on that one. And what it will probably give you an opportunity to do is to, in relationship to your daughter and your son-in-law, is to move from a human pleasing and a human doing
Mm-hmm.
into functioning as a human being with them more so.
Okay.
And also teaching them how to say no.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love survives when someone tells me no.
Oh, well, that's a good one too.
Oh, that's a good one to write down too. Anita, it is such a delight. It's like spring flowers to hear your voice and all that you've been going through. The only reason you haven't heard from me is because I know you've been handling a lot in the universe. But this morning I woke up with you in my prayer And so, what a delight to hear you here, and what Susan and Anita you just brought forth. And the mind shifter is exactly what I need when I start playing superhero and handling more than this body can handle. So, I'm right with you, sisters.
I think it's
Nice.
partly a female problem. Maybe I need correction on that, but I notice women tend to do that.
No,
And
men really are in a performance mode a lot of the time too. I think it's pretty, I have to, and that stress alone in relationships, I think, destroys a lot of relationships from the male's perspective, because they've been trained, if they don't perform, then they're not worthy. If they don't do this, don't do that, and so it's a different expression, but pretty much the same dynamic.
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally. It's so lovely to hear your voice. So then the next question, clearly I need to spend some time working on the mind shifter, which I will. And it's interesting. So for Susan, the only way to release the pressure is for the kids to move away. So,
Not the only. That's the way it happened to unfold.
right.
That's not the only way. She
Right.
could have, done exactly what you're saying, and she could have said no and said, no, you need to take care of the dog this week, and you need to. So that wouldn't be the only way. That it happened to fall in place and give her the gift of, or with her paying attention, of realizing, oh, something shifted.
Yeah, so that's where I was going next was, so how else, because they did move away, so that immediately relieves that pressure and the goals. And so, clearly for Susan, looking after the kids, looking after house, looking after the dogs and the cats and whatever else that needs tending to, the yard, etc. How would we best go about doing that? Because we're obviously not going to cut everything off cold turkey, because that would probably really disrupt the relationship. But what would be the best strategy to start pulling things back gently so as to maintain their relationship and to the relationship with the kids and then the relationship with ourselves?
Forgiveness. That's the underlying tool that would be most important in the process. And what I'd suggest that you do as you're working with that mind shifter is you then, maybe take some time to sit and breathe and imagine you in the position of your children in relationship to your parents.
Ah, okay.
And there'll probably be another whole round of things to clean up
Right.
as
Okay.
you do that, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I did a family constellation workshop on Monday and my mind was absolutely blown because that's exactly it. I realized how I, in certain circumstances, am responding the same as my power person with my daughter, and I didn't realize it until that point.
Mm.
So that was a massive awakening.
So
And
that would be the place to pull out the power person worksheet then,
yeah,
a 19-pager,
yeah.
and really go to depth.
Okay. Thank you.
And you remember when we did that in the facilitated codependence with
Yeah.
Susan, I think it took us about, I'm not remembering exactly, but I think it was at least a month. We did at least 8 sessions
Yeah.
to look at all the dynamics that the power person worksheet is about bringing up.
Exactly. Yeah, it was such a beautiful realization. It really gutted me because I actually was surprised that I was doing that. And I'm so thankful that for the opportunity to have this realization and now correct it going forward. So I've got some big work to do here.
Sounds like the next layer of gifts. Yes.
Thank
Well,
you.
and thank you again, Anita, because of what Michael just shared about the power person worksheet for the parent. In my dynamic with my daughter, I run the same pattern as my mother did for me.
How shocking.
I know. And I mean, it's so exactamento. And so I realized that I did the whole long version of the power person worksheet on my dad, which was the obvious first, but I haven't done one on my mom. And so, Anita, you will not be alone in having plenty of work ahead.
Oh, let's do it together, Sally.
Okay, we're powerful.
Indeed, we are. I look forward to it.
I'll be in
Good.
touch.
Great noticing.
You too.
Let me inject a story here that I think you might find helpful around the whole conversation. There is a play that was written decades ago that I happened to see one night in Boca Raton, Florida. And the play, there was one line that was delivered in the play that was so powerful that I went to the box office. The play was playing for 2 more nights, and I bought tickets for the next 2 nights to go and just sit in the space of watching this line be delivered. Interestingly enough, the play was turned into a movie. And I was so excited to be able to get this movie and watch this line be delivered. And when they got to that place in the movie, they changed the line. They dropped it. Jeannie and I were traveling. I forget where we were. I think we were maybe in New York. And this play was playing. I thought, let's go see it. And the line had been dropped. It wasn't there. And I think the reason is because it was just too powerful. The name of the play, movie, Jack Lemmon played in it, was Mass Appeal. And it's a story about a young man who ends up in a monastery, and he's lived a pretty raucous life. He's done it all. He's been on the low end of life, the low life, and now he's decided that he wants to become a priest. So he goes and, goes to school, goes into a seminary. And this young man doesn't care what anybody thinks about anything. If he's got a question, he's going to ask it. So he stirs everybody up and basically reflects all the lies that people think are truth that they just use in order not to have to deal with their lives. So there's a Monsignor who's over the monastery or over the seminary, and it doesn't take long before the kid gets under his hair. And there's an old priest who is the parish priest in the seminary, and the Monsignor's talking to this old priest. Jack Lemmon plays the old priest in the movie, and the Monsignor says, that kid, Mark Dolan, I'm going to get rid of him. He's nothing but trouble. And the old priest has been watching this kid, Mark Dolan, and yeah, he stirs people up, but there's always a result, and the old man likes it. He sees there's benefit to this. But he lives in fear because he's been threatened by the Monsignor that if he ever crosses the Monsignor will send him off to the wheat fields of Kansas for his retirement. And he's, in this nice, comfy parish where they know what kind of sweaters he likes and what kind of wine he drinks, and they take care of him. So he's kind of terrified he's going to lose his cushy job and end up in the wheat fields of Kansas. So the old priest, as a Monsignor says this, says, wait a minute, no, this kid's okay. He's going to make it. He's going to make a real contribution. So the Monsignor's like, okay, wise guy, you take him under your wing and you watch him and make sure he stays out of my hair. So the old priest, kind of takes over the mentorship of this kid. Time goes on, and so it's now the young kid, he's growing in the seminary, and it's time for him to do a homily. And he gets up in front of the whole congregation to deliver the homily. And once again, he doesn't pull any punches. I mean, everybody in the church is huffing and who does he think? What? I mean, he's asking the questions that everybody keeps hidden and don't ask. And this gets back to the Monsignor, and the Monsignor's like, "You're out of here." So he kicks the kid out of the seminary. And it's Sunday morning. You know, he's really become attached to this old priest. And he's got his bags packed. He's leaving. He's got the bags at the back of the church, and he comes in to sit in on his last mass before he leaves. And the old priest is up there, and of course he's got his fear that he's going to get sent off to the wheat fields of Kansas, but so he doesn't want to stir the pot. But he starts in on how great a kid this kid is, and how wonderful priest he's going to be, and blah blah blah. And finally, as the kid's sitting there, you see him wanting to really open up, bless the Monsignor, and correct this whole situation. But you can see him contemplating, I'm going to get sent off to the wheat fields of Kansas. So he avoids that. He avoids it. And then toward the end of his homily, the kid's getting up to go get in his cab, get his bags, and leave. And you just watch the stress build on this old priest. And finally, he just blasts the whole story out to the congregation. And then he says the line that was taken out of the movie. He says, "And now that the truth has been told, there's room for real love." If you're in your family system acting a role and it's not really true, the truth isn't there, then being isn't there and love isn't there. There's a cheap copy that tends to pervade the culture. But until the truth is told, everybody's acting out of a persona, a personality, which is a mask. And there's no real life in that. That's the life that they're the folks that Yeshua was referring to when he said, "The dead bury the dead and the blind lead the blind." Honoring truth is the number one requirement of truly living as a human being. So holding the space for each of us to be able to honor truth.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you so much, Dr. Ryce. Good reminder.
Honored and delighted. And certainly confronting the generational patterns. Parent to child, to parent to child, to parent to child.
Yeah.
There's much to be handled and much breath to be brought into the process of life.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you being here, and we'll look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. Blessings. Bye-bye.